Hi, hello, howdy. My name is Scarlett, and welcome back to our coverage and dissection of One Piece and its many different storylines that we have going on right now. Today, where we're focusing is on the Marine storyline. We're going to be talking about the Marines versus the Blackbeard pirates on Hachinosu Island, and miscellaneous pirates that are on Hachi. There's a lot of pirates. Alright, without further ado, our first panel here, what Garp does, he goes to, I believe it's G14, and he collects Hibari, Helmeppo, and Prince Groose. Doll's just the one that picked up the phone when Garp went ring ring, hey, we're gonna raid a Yonko. I guess. And Kujaku is also coming. Similar to Doll, but both very sexy BDSM women, and they make lesbian go burr. The next scene that we see is Hachinosu. And the state of what Hachinosu is, more or less a safe haven for pirates as long as they're cool with being in alliance with Blackbeard. He's one of the Yonko, so that's a pretty regular thing. That's happening around the New World. This is a pretty grim part of it, but it's really not so different than what all of the other countries around the world are doing, which is going to become important. Put a pin in that. And what's going on is Kobe, who had prior been kidnapped on Amazon Lily whenever there was the altercation between Boa and Blackbeard that ended with Rayleigh stepping up and being like, hey, everyone chill the fuck out, go home. And then they did, because, it's Rayleigh? When Silver's Rayleigh comes a knocking at your door and tells you to do something, there's not an option B. You just do that or die. So, everyone stopped, but Kobe had already been captured, so he was not currently there at that point. So Kobe is captured by the Blackbeard pirate. That's what the headline is on the newspaper and all that. And one of the twists, Kobe also has a bounty now. So, all the pirates here are super excited, trying to nab that little Kobe bounty. There's Kobe's poster and bounty. That's 4.5 mil. Cool. Need water. You gotta hydrate, kids. Alright, Kobe has been captured, and he breaks out. Everyone on Hachinosu is trying to mobilize. They can't very well because they're all drunk and pirates. However, a lot of them are very powerful drunk pirates. Due to this fact, we have some heavy hitters. We got Avalo Pizarro, who's the entire island. So, Hachinosu is an island that has a lot of terrain and then a big skull in the middle. That big skull is now Pizarro's skull. Also, side note, Pizarro talks like a cat. That will come into play later. Not importantly, but I am going to complain about it. I just realized I forgot to put my horns on. I feel naked now. So, alright, next up on the roster for the Blackbeard Pirates, we have Vasco Shot, known as Heavy Drinker Vasco Shot. A booze man, and he ate the glug glug fruit, which is a recent development. So, this is the introduction of whatever the glug glug fruit does. Now, it's easy to be misunderstood because our next member, San Juan Wolf, the colossal battleship, San Juan Wolf. He's currently asleep, standing up on the seabed. He has the size manipulation fruit, but he's already the size of a skyscraper. He's asleep right now, and his snot bubbles are coming out, and I guess he exhales helium, and Vasco is just standing atop them. So when I first read this, I think I was a little confused, thinking that he might have some kind of liquid manipulation fruit, but that's just San Juan. However, he might be turning those bubbles into alcohol and keeping them as a bubble and controlling them from that point. So, if anything, Vasco gets a level up if he can be around San Juan, if San Juan can do that on command. Because that's just infinite ammo. Sake costs money, and he drinks a lot of it. So, the last on our roster of Blackbeard pirates is Shiryu. He's just a dick, but he is very good at sword, and is a dick. And also the man has a good amount of homicidal tendencies. And I believe that's all the Blackbeard pirates. Kobe has escaped from the jail. That obviously causes problems, causes people to start having a ruckus. Everyone wants to capture Kobe because now that the Cross Guild has made it so that Marines have bounties on their heads too, their prisoners are a lot more valuable than they were before. Kobe's running around town, everyone wants to kill him, but he's a fast and slippery boy, so he's being fast and being slippery. Then we see our Blackbeard boys. We see Avalo Pizarro wanting to commit arson. Vasco shot. This is our first instance of seeing it here. Big old island man who's very big and scary. Oda's continuing his trend back from like with Pika and stuff. Big scary guy, but he has very funny little voice. With Pika it was just really high-pitched. With Avalo, he talks like a cat for some reason. So he thinks that this is a perfect plan. I like it when he doesn't talk. I prefer it when he does not say things. So, Kobe's running around, and we have a bit of a flashback from Kobe's perspective. This is to back when he was first captured, and Blackbeard had him on his knees and was like, and asserting his power and whatnot, as Blackbeard tends to do. When we were talking about nations and how this might relate to the world government past, the Marines are the ones that are coming to get their guy back. Blackbeard has a really intriguing panel here. So I'm just going to read it word for word off the translation that I'm going to use here. I'm not going to do it in a Blackbeard voice because I haven't lost that much dignity. Give me a couple months of being a YouTuber, I might. But for now, he says, "Do you like my idea of making Pirate Island a full-fledged nation? It can be government affiliated so long as I'm king. The Blackbeard Kingdom has a nice ring to it, don't you think?" We're going to talk about this Blackbeard panel and him wanting to make a full nation out of Hachinosu. So, knowing what we know from the One Piece story, the world government, all the countries, are already countries of criminals. They just haven't been labeled as pirates because they've been subservient. If any of those countries were like, no, I'm not going to join the world government, they would be left to be invaded, run over by pirates, unless there was someone protecting their territory with a notable name. So, Blackbeard wanting to make Hachinosu into, I guess, the Kurohige Kingdom, because I imagine that's gonna sound better than calling it the Blackbeard Kingdom. Now, in conversation, I'll probably say the Blackbeard Kingdom, but just to, like, refer to it as, like, the name for a country, it's like the Evil Drum Kingdom. Like, what the fuck is up with that with Wapol? In reality, the only thing that's keeping Blackbeard from achieving this plan is the fact that he's one of the Yonko. So if one of the Yonko go away, that diverts the balance of power. Is the Marines, the Yonko, and the Seraphim. Those are the three balancing powers that the world government currently has. All of these countries being able to rule themselves individually are ruled by people who can do whatever they want, and as has been demonstrated by a lot of people at this point, people, when given the opportunity to just do what they want, are going to do criminal activity. So they end up doing that a lot. So Blackbeard wanting to make Hachinosu into a kingdom isn't so far-fetched. And maybe if Blackbeard made an alliance with Ochoku or Wang Ji, instead of just overthrowing him and either sending him out to sea or killing him, one or the other happened, then Ochoku might have been able to take the place as the leader of Hachinosu, like the person who goes to Reverie and such. Because Blackbeard having his own kingdom, one, I don't think Blackbeard wants to go to the Reverie. Like, that's a lot of bureaucracy and shit that Blackbeard isn't gonna want to sign up for. So if he had someone else as the head of Hachinosu, then maybe that could work. But the only people that he has that are trusted are his 10 commanders. Those people are known as his 10 commanders, so those people are directly tied to him. Anytime that we see Blackbeard spending on trying to pursue this plan that he's talking about here, I think, is just wasted time. No, it's not. It kind of is. Trying to pursue it with the world government is a waste of time. Everything said and done in One Piece, whenever the system has completely collapsed, the countries are still there. They're going to be countries. So at that point, that would be Blackbeard's country. It essentially already is, because the Marines are scared to go near it. So also it's a bit redundant that he wants to go about making it an official country with the world government. Like, that just feels like a little plaque he wants to have on the wall, and he doesn't realize what all the actual implications of becoming a nation are. Moving on from that, the other important piece of information that we get from this flashback happening and seeing Blackbeard, after he states that and goes, "Zay ha 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 ha," Kobe says, "You're wasting your time, I'm a member of SWORD." This means nothing to anybody in the room, and Kuzan, who's standing right next to Blackbeard, goes, "Wait, hold up, Blackbeard." That does put a bit of a wrench in things. Marines that are a member of SWORD have... He's already given up his Marine code. SWORD members are Marines who are no longer recognized on paper. Everyone in SWORD has officially resigned their commission. That allows them to ignore certain command protocols. For example, they can fight an emperor like you without authorization. And the Navy can always disavow their actions and cut them loose at any point. Blackbeard also says he's going to keep Kobe regardless, knowing he's in SWORD and what those implications are, because due to the fact that Kobe is the hero of the Rocky Port incident, he is seen as this generation's hero of the Marines. Last generation's, up until now, was Garp. Kobe's gotta fill those shoes. Kobe has big shoe to fill! And over the course of this series, we will see that. So moving on from that flashback, back in present day where Kobe's running around, he randomly hears, "Oh my god, 3 Marines are attacking our island? What the fuck?" So Kobe's like, "What the... Marines? Why are they here?" "No, it's not about me. Don't boost yourself like that. You ain't worth that." And he's like all like flustered and sad about it. That is the only reason why they are coming. Yes, Kobe, they are coming for you. You are the only stake that the Marines have. Cutting over to the Marine side, we have this Marine attack that's taking place to not capture, but to uncapture Kobe and take him back. Kobe did the uncapturing himself. Good job, Kobe. So now we just need to get Kobe and get at it. Our Marine lineup is 1, Prince Groose, who's kind of a boss. I really like him in his funny long hat. He has a very, very long billed hat. But he has the clay fruit. In this translation, it's called the squelch fruit, but that makes me feel icky to say, so I'm not going. He has the clay fruit. Is it a Logia? I think it's a Paramecia, but I want to check and make sure. Okay, it doesn't say whether it's a Logia or a Paramecia. I think it's a Paramecia. I think this is the upgraded version of the Doru no Mi, or the wax fruit that we see with Mr. 3 Galdino, who's currently in the Cross Guild faction, which got absorbed from Buggy and his prison escape from Impel Down. That became Buggy's delivery service. Then now the Cross Guild, as Mihawk and Crocodile have crashed and taken it. Also on our Marine lineup, we have Helmeppo. He's Helmeppo. He does things, I presume. We do not see them, but I presume Helmeppo is doing things. Going back to Groose now, though. The clay fruit is a Paramecia-type devil fruit that allows him to create clay, make and manifest clay coming out of his little fingies or whatever appendages he wants. He can make and control clay. And the power that we're seeing in this, how that's better than the wax fruit that we saw back in Little Garden initially, and then a couple more times through Impel Down, and we'll probably see it again at some point. It is the upgraded version of that fruit, because these statues that he is making then come to life and have enough consciousness and willpower. I don't know if it's Groose talking through his golems, or he's literally creating life. Regardless, after creating the thing, he still is able to have control of it, and he has good enough control of it to create multiple golems that seem like regular Marines. So they're basically like shadow clones from Naruto, but they're clay Logia clone. I think that's a good thing to call it, a Logia clone. Because you know what? We might see other Logia clones. That could 100, I guarantee you actually, that is a power of Kizaru. So you know what? That's a thing. So Groose sends his Logia clones out, and they're wrecking shop. They eventually get chopped down and beheaded, and they're like, what is this, a Logia? And then it goes away. Cut over to this part. Okay, so we see Kujaku. Kujaku has the power of the Whip fruit, which is a paramecia type power that allows her to, assumedly with people and animals as well, but we see here with inanimate objects, with buildings, in fact. We see Kujaku whipping the buildings, saying some phrases to them, which I'm not going to say, because I don't make enough money off YouTube yet to do that. But she does say those things. Moving on, well, not moving on, we need to say why she's doing that, and making these buildings all her sub, and making them get in a circle for her so they can trap everyone in to get murdered. Because that's the next thing that's gonna happen. Well, no, that's the next thing. So we have BDSM girl who has gotten all the pirates surrounded by these buildings after Groose and Helmeppo, I assume Helmeppo, but Groose and assumedly Helmeppo getting all of the pirates into the main square, which wasn't there before, but is now because Whip fruit. Now, all of these pirates that were out and about at Hachinosu, there's probably like thousands of them, are standing in this area that has been created. People are trying to shoot some guns. We see the other Marine we have here, Hibari, up with the sniper, and we see something that actually ties back to a cover story that we've been seeing recently, relatively recently. We see the Germa 66's Emotionless Excursion, which I can also do a video about because I want to do videos covering the storyline of the cover stories as well as, like, in the same vein as I'm covering the GARP storyline with what I'm doing here. So, the invention that we see that Vegapunk wins essentially a Nobel Peace Prize for is gunpowder that sprouts flowers when you shoot it instead of shooting bullets. I do not know how this works, but it decommissions guns. Being the pirate beehive, there are lots of guns. So Hibari's job up on this sniper post is, I guess, sniping a round of GP powder bullets into all of the guns, which I imagine the only way she can do that is insane observation hockey. But with insane observation hockey, we can say that, yeah, that's what she's doing. Yeah, no, that's a crazy feat if you think about it. If they're decommissioning enough of the guns of those pirates to keep Helmeppo alive. I think that's a crazy feat. So, we move on to the introduction panel of Groose. It tells us what his fruit is, doesn't tell us a tiny, but he's straight vibing. Just straight vibing. He made a little friend that's just like a baby him. He just wants a little friend. He just wants a little guy that he can just like put on his shoulder. If I see baby Groose on Groose's shoulder, I might squeal. So look forward to that in future Marine chapters that we get that come out later. We see Helmeppo! Oh no, Helmeppo wasn't on the island. Helmeppo was on the ship. That sucked. But I mean, to keep Kujaku alive, I guess, because we don't necessarily know what her power level is. We just know what her power is, if that That makes sense to anime people. But speaking of feats, we see Garp do basically a coup de burst by just punching the ocean. So Garp's ship is flying now directly towards this town circle that Kujaku and Groose created by essentially herding all the pirates like sheep and moving the build. Now this next panel is big. And this is the last panel for the chapter. So, okay. So this spread is huge. This is the first, like, we've seen Garp punch before. We've seen feats from Garp. He's thrown cannonballs stronger than a cannon. He's just done a coup de burst by punching the water. We know Garp is strong. But this is our first named Garp attack. So this is our first named Garp attack. He calls it Galaxy Impact. It is the size of, what would that be? A 5x5 square of city blocks. I don't know how large that is. But I can conceptualize how large that is. Every building is completely destroyed. It is just a giant meteor. Not even a meteor. It's like an atomic bomb of a punch. That's insane. Now, I want to keep going and keep talking about this because I can't shut up about One Piece. But due to the amount of time that it took me just to cover 1079, I'm going to turn 1080, 1087, and 88 into their own videos and then string them together in a playlist for my channel. But that was the coverage for One Piece chapter 1079. Really, I'm so excited to go through these next 3 chapters again and look at, point out, and analyze specific panels because they're all so good. And the crazy thing is, in my head, this was like the B tier story that we have going on. Like, obviously we have A story, Straw Hat Pirates. B story, Revolutionary Army. C story, Shanks. D story, Law and Kid. And then E story would be where we're at right now with Garp. Oda is a madman, but we are going to cover all of these plot threads individually, going through the chapters that make them up and the sections that make them up. But the fact that this, I would rank as the story of least importance in the plot right now, and there's 4 other ones? Oh my god. I am so excited to cover this entire storyline. It is going to be a fucking ride. And I am still riding the high of the chapter that released yesterday, 1088. Crazy good in terms of, like, narrative and reading it and enjoyment and emotional I'm gonna shut myself up before I talk about the end before we get there. But please do come back for whenever I do make those videos. Do the notification thing. Yeah, do that. That'll help. But that has been this video. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Scarlett, and I appreciate you coming by. Yeah, I think that's it.